Across WA, Spirit Drive with Matt Layton, thanks to Major Motors. Whether you're driving home or driving to site, Major Motors have a ready-to-work Isuzu truck for you. Go to majormotors.com.au.
From Bustleton to Broome, this is Spirit Drive with Matt Layton.
On Spirit Drive, wine and dine.
Wine and dine time indeed. Let's have a chat with one of our regulars, Jacqueline Baree. Good afternoon. How are things?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. And yourself?
Pretty good here. I've been seeing you in a few publications over the past week or so because a place that's very close to you and your heart has been receiving said press. Beaufort Street in the capital city. Business owners have been staring down claims their beloved street is in the throes of crisis, as quoted in the West Australian's recent article. I mean, as someone who frequents the street very often, can you give us, I guess, the general vibe of how things are going? Is there a lot of optimism around the place?
I think that to say that there's a lot of optimism, yeah, absolutely. But really, there's a story focusing on all these venues shutting, but where's the story focusing on the 5 new venues that the street has, or different activities that have been happening, or initiatives and creative changes that venues have made? So, I mean, I think it's really narrow to look at just negative stories in an area when there's so much that's happening. I have tour guests that are foreign from overseas all the time that will say to me, as we're going through Beaufort Street, is it always this busy? And they just can't get over how bustling it is. So to say that that's not the case, I think is really unfair to the businesses there.
Yeah, also in that article, I mean, it says high rents, encroaching franchises and laggard community spending have been blamed for a string of closures. But how would you like to see the discourse change around the region?
Well, I don't think it's just Beaufort Street that's facing an issue with rents. I think that that's everywhere. And that's not just WA, but that's Australia as a whole. It's a really expensive country to operate a business, especially in hospitality. So me being positive about the street and the businesses that are there isn't being naive to the issues that any hospitality business faces. But that's not just in Perth, that's our entire state or our entire country. I think that if people want to talk about these issues, maybe bring them up, but have a solution. So if the local shire wants to talk about, or the local city wants to talk about the rents being an issue, well, reach out to the landlords or provide free mediation for tenants to utilise when working on getting a reduction in their rent, which a few venues on Beaufort Street have successfully negotiated.
And we know Western Australia certainly has its back. I mean, things like Buy West, Eat Best, little things like checking the tick give me peace of mind, knowing that what I'm purchasing is going back to the state's producers, an initiative that's pretty much done wonders in 10 years.
Absolutely, and I think that West Australians want to support West Australians. It's just kind of who we are, and people want stuff that's local and fresh. They want to have good provenance behind what they're eating and where they're going. And a lot of these streets like Beaufort Street, but not just in Perth, but there's little hubs all around our state, north, south, inland and the goldfields that have really great stories behind them, and people listen to these stories. So I think that there's a lot of positivity to be had when looking at the hospitality and the tourism scene in Western Australia at the moment.
What are some of the stories that you've been basically soaking in, of course, as an owner-operator of Eat the Street walking tours along Beaufort Street, among many other parts of Perth?
Oh, like good stories I've been hearing? Well, there's lots of really cool. So on Beaufort Street, I guess anyone who's been in Perth in the last 7 years would know that the Pony Club sat empty for about 7 years. But now Gatto, sorry, I always say it wrong. It's my accent. They've been open and running now for over 6 months, and it's always busy. It looks really exciting. I personally haven't made it in yet, unfortunately, but it always smells so good when I walk past. I follow them online. They've always got live music on the weekend, which is excellent. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that's going on. Meat and Bun opened up recently in Mount Wally as well. So they've got a few other locations around the city, and that's just a really great local story. Hood Burger opened up a bit further up in Inglewood, so outside of my tour area, but I definitely will be frequenting there.
Now, of course, as seasons are changing, what are establishments working on at the moment? And I guess, what are you working on as well at Eat the Street walking tours as, nights get a little bit darker earlier and things will start becoming a bit more colder later on too?
Well, surprisingly, actually, Beaufort Street thrives in the wintertime. So a lot of people go out in the city in the summer, but then once wintertime comes, people go to Beaufort Street. It's just got a really cozy vibe about it. And I think that that's something that as a tour operator, but I know also the venues along Beaufort Street really focus on. So they're going to have really sort of hearty, warming meals and lots of different specials, that sort of thing to bring people in. We really focus on our message that we walk rain or shine. I mean, once you're inside a venue, you're not in the rain. You're there for 30 minutes and you're walking for about 2 or 3. So even if it's raining, it's still a really fun activity and gives you something to do on a winter night. So I think that we'll see pretty consistent sales throughout the winter, which is really exciting. And yeah, hopefully we can get people just around West Australia exploring their own backyard a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it sounds absolutely fantastic to me. Yeah, as you say, a lot of negative headlines, I guess, related to Beaufort Street and even Subiaco. I mean, we were hearing that the Vic Hotel is up for sale yesterday, but I mean, you've got to start talking, pumping up the states. You know, we've got to be proud of where we are and where we come from.
Absolutely. If we're not flying our flag high, nobody else is going to do it for us.
Absolutely.
I think we need to focus on the positive stories, the awesome venues that we've got, the great produce that we have in our state as well, because we have really high-quality produce, meats, vegetables, distilling, great craft beers, amazing wines. So there's just so much to be proud of and so many positive stories to tell. I think we just all need to make sure that those are the ones that we're focusing on. And if we have to say goodbye to a venue that we used to love, just remember how much fun we had there, but get excited about what's going to come in and replace it.
Yeah, it all comes to the old adage of buy west, eat best. But of course, you can follow Jacqueline's travels at eatthestreet.com.au. Great message to keep supporting your local industry, rain, hail or shine as well. Thank you very much for joining us. That was a great discussion.
Cheers. Thanks heaps, Matt, and I'll talk to you again soon.
No worries at all. Jacqueline Barree here on Spirit Drive for Thursday's Wine and Dine. We'll be back soon.